I now present to you, from our heart, Iyanla Vanzant. Come on, Iyanla.
Thank you. Good evening, Oakland. How are you? Looking good. I can't really see you with the way these lights are configured, but that's okay. Thank you for taking time out of your day, your busy schedule, because you all look so busy, to come and share some time. I'm getting ready to go back on the road, as I say. It's been 8 years since I've written a book, a full-length book, and probably 10 years since I've toured a book. So I've been home being spoiled, and now to get back out in the world, I don't think I would wanted to have started anywhere other than here in Oakland with my good friend Blanche. Blanche has been my editor, my supporter, my encourager, my personal angel. So when I write her, I write, and when she writes me, she signs it YPA, your personal angel. You know, and I call her back the same thing. What an incredible joy it is to have a Blanche Richardson in my life. What an incredible joy it is to have a Reverend Andriette Earl in my life. You know, and sometimes when people see, once people see you on television, you're no longer real. You know, you're not. They think like you float or something. You know? Well, first of all, they think you're rich. That's number one. So they start sending you notes about the things that they want you to do for them with your wealth. Yeah. But then people they don't think you're real. You know, once you've been on television a lot, and they stare at you and stuff. So I really particularly get tickled when they see me in Walmart. That's real extent. And I say, yes, the soap powder is cheap here. And Target. You know, I would lose my womanness if I didn't go to Target. Whether I'm rich or real or not, I have to go to Target. But the one that really gets them is Sam's Club. They can't get to me at Sam's Club. So I am real, and I shop where it's economical, and I love being out among the people. Someone came to my house recently and they said to me, "You cook?" I said, "Have you seen my butt?" Yeah. Yes, I cook and do my own laundry too. You know, so it's, you know, my life, my purpose is to be a teacher. That's what I am. I am a teacher. And for me, teaching doesn't mean giving anything out. It means giving anything to you. It means pulling out what's already there. And so one of the things that I like to do is I like to live where people live. I like to be where people are. I like to go through and be with people as we move through life, because life is changing very, very rapidly. You know, things that once were so absolutely critical and essential to us are just not there. And the things that we thought we once had to have, we realize that we really can do without. And things are changing, and some of us are faring very well and others of us aren't. And I just went through a 7-year period in my experience called life where I really had to get clear about what was meaningful and what wasn't, and who I was and who I wasn't, and who I wasn't going to be anymore. And so out of that experience grew this sharing that I'm offering to the world at this time called Peace from broken pieces, how to get through what you're going through. You see, because we all going through something. All of us at some point. It could be an internal something. It could be a mental something, an emotional something. It could be a physical something. It could be something in our work. It could be something in our relationship, in our marriage. It could just be something where you just get to that point where you look at yourself and you say, okay, this just ain't working, okay? Whether it's the extra pounds on the hips, or whether it's the way you live, the way you speak, the way you think, the way you feel. We're all going through something, you understand? And the question becomes how to get through what you're going through and come out on the other end better than you were when you went in. And that better doesn't mean that you're thinner, that you have cleaner teeth or fresher breath. That better means that you have another level of peace in your beingness. You know, for me, that is the most important thing. And when I'm spelling peace, I'm spelling P-E-A-C-E, because it was a time when it was the other kind of peace that I was on the hunt and the search for, but we won't have that conversation. Am I by myself? But I've really come to the place to understand that peace, it's peace. It's just peace. It's just being able to wake up in the morning and look at myself, and no matter what I see, that I'm okay with it. It's peace that I know that I've done my best, and even though it didn't look like I thought it was going to look or turn out the way I would have wanted it to turn out, I have peace with the fact that I gave my best, and I did my best, and I gave my all, and everything is exactly as it needs to be, even if it doesn't look like I want it to look. I have peace, understanding and knowing that I really am not in charge. I really want to be, but I just ain't in charge. And you know what? Most days ain't nobody listening to me no how. You know, so I've just come to peace with the fact that I'm not in charge. I can't be in charge, and I'm not the boss of nobody. And even when I'm the boss of me, when I look back at what my life looked like, nobody would really want to hire me to be the boss of their life if I was to tell the whole truth about it, you understand? So peace from broken pieces, how to get through what you're going through, means that we have the ability to look at the broken pieces of our lives. There's a story in the Bible that in the Gospels, and it's about the disciples when they were out on the sea, and it was this huge, great big storm, and the storm was out there, and the Christ was out there also, and the disciples were sleeping, and they met in the storm, and the raft, the boat that they were on, was shattered. And they were in the water, and I don't know about you, but sometimes the boat that I've been on has been shattered. Whether it's a dream or a marriage or a relationship or just a particular activity that I'm in, and I look up and that thing is busted to pieces. Now, we have a choice. Okay? We can look at it and say, oh, I can fix that. Have you ever done that? You ain't even got no Elmer's glue in your pocket. The thing is busted up to pieces, and oh, I can fix that, because we really do think, some of us, like me, that we really are in charge. And not only are we in charge, but that it's our duty and our right and our responsibility to fix things, or change things, or make things different than they were. So here we are riding along, and this dream, this relationship, this job, this vision, this whatever hits the storm and it's busted into pieces. And that's what happened to the disciples. Their boat was busted into pieces. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when those things hit me, when I hit that storm, the first thing to leave me is my common sense. It's very embarrassing to speak. Just my common sense. You know, like, if something bad happened and the first thing you do is go, ah! That really isn't helpful. First of all, you cover your eyes. That's not helpful. You know, and then you're screaming. What? That is not helpful. And if you give one of those blood-curdling screams, it scares everybody else in the room. So even if there was somebody there that could help you or support you, now they're scared too. And they got their eyes covered. It really isn't helpful. That's just common sense. Says don't scare the people in the room, okay? But for me, the common sense is the first thing that goes. And then when I hit that storm and my dream, my vision, my whatever it is starts to fall to pieces, the other thing that takes temporary leave of me is knowledge, information. I don't know. It's like it's just like, you know, like what they say when your computer crashes. That happens to my brain. It doesn't last long, just like, you know, when it happens to your computer, you know, and you be sitting there, oh, Lord, please, when it comes, don't let me lose my stuff. Don't let me lose my stuff. Oh, God, please. The same thing happens to my brain. I forget what I know. It don't last long, but it does happen, and it is quite frightening. Like, who am I? Where am I? Now, what in the world is this? It doesn't last long, but in the midst of the storm, yeah? Same thing happened to the disciples. They forgot everything that they had seen, everything that they had been taught, everything that the Christ had given them in the time that they were together. When that boat fell apart, they forgot. The other thing that leaves me, I know you may not have this, I can tell in your aura, the pieces of it that I can see, that most of y'all are really firm and grounded and good. The other thing that has a tendency to leave me when I hit the storm is my faith. Oh, you mean somebody understands? After I've told myself I was in that alone? Oh my goodness, yes, faith, just go right out the window. I can't think of an angel, a Holy Spirit, a Christ mind, a Jesus, a God, or nothing in that moment. I'm like out there on my own. And that's what happened to the disciples. The boat fell apart. The storm hit the boat, and they had been told prior to going into it, don't worry, no matter what happens, you won't drown. They had been told that. But as soon as the storm hit the boat and the boat split to pieces, they went, ah! And they began to cry out, oh my God, the boat, what are we going to do? What us going to do? What us going to do? Because you know, you lose your dignity too when you're in trouble, right? Command of the English language, all of it. What else gonna do? Thank God I can't think, but computer crash. What else gonna do? And the voice said back to them, make it on the broken pieces. You can make it on your broken pieces. In fact, most of us have made it on broken pieces. Broken pieces of our identity, broken pieces of our families, broken pieces of our dreams, of our visions. We have made it on broken pieces. The place where we seem to fall off is having peace with those broken pieces, and not wishing that those pieces were anything else other than what they are. Because as long as we want our pieces to be different than they are, we're not going to have peace, and we're not going to make it through. We're going to make it back to another experience, just like the other experience that gives us another opportunity to find peace. I had to learn about my broken pieces. I had many, many broken pieces, and I didn't even realize that some of the pieces were broken. The first piece that I discovered that was broken was my self-image, who I was, and who I thought I was, and who I had been told that I was. You see, one of the things that I learned in coming to peace with my broken pieces was that there are family pathologies that we inherit. Pathology is the study, the science of discovering what it is that creates dis-ease. And we have inherited, many of us, things from people known and unknown, seen and unseen, that create dis-ease in our life. And we go through our life living in a diseased state of identity, and we don't even understand where it's come from. I had a family pathology, a diseased pathology, that took certain things away from me and gave certain things to me simply because I was a woman. And as smart as I was with all my degrees in education, I was still infected by the dis-ease of that family pathology. And try as I might to live beyond certain beliefs and situations and circumstances, I could not live beyond the dis-ease of that family pathology that told me as a woman I was not as important as men. That told me as a woman I did not have a right to have a voice. Now that's very strange pathology for a public speaker, that you are not supposed to have a voice. But what happened in my situation was I was able to live beyond the pathology by sheer brute force. I forced myself to do it. I pushed myself to do it, and the opportunities were created in my life so that I could do it. But deep down in the places between my toenails and my heel and my ankle, I didn't believe it. Just didn't believe it. Because it would mean that my grandmother and my daddy were liars when they told me you ain't nothing. When they said go somewhere and sit down and shut up. Don't nobody want to hear what you got to say. Why you always gotta have something to say? Why can't you just shut up? You get on my nerves, your mouth. Why don't you just do something with that mouth? That was a broken piece. And only through the grace of God was I able to live beyond it. I made it to another place with that broken piece. But there comes a moment when you have to reconcile your pieces. There comes a moment when you have to stand for your pieces. And if you don't understand what your pieces are, you could drown. I came from a family, a pathology in my family was one of dishonor and dishonesty. I came from a family where people would look at what was going on, see what was going on, and then talk about the weather. Nobody wants to talk about that alligator eating the table leg. There is an alligator, he eating leg off the table, and you people are trying to carve the turkey. What is the matter with you? And if you, like me, were to say something about the alligator, people would tell you was crazy. That is not an alligator. Go somewhere and sit down. Shut up. And sometimes, you know, that's a defense mechanism, and sometimes it's how people keep themselves safe. But you gotta know that dishonesty is like a cancer. And it erodes away the fibers of your being. So I lived in a pathology of dishonor and dishonesty. People neglected to tell me that my mother was dead. They just, you know, hey, she died when I was 2, I didn't remember, so what the hell? That dishonored me. But then they told me that somebody else was my mother. and that was dishonesty. Everybody in my family knew that my grandmother was crazy as hell. She was crazy as hell. Can you hear me? You know, the more loving thing to do would be to say that she was mentally ill. She was mentally ill, but her mental illness showed up as hellish craziness. Meaner than a wet cat. Can you hear me? She was meaner than a wet cat. And that energy had to be directed somewhere. So when you put a talkative child together with crazier than hell, you get some broken pieces. And everybody knew that my grandmother was abusing me. But they were scared of her because she was crazy as hell. And back then, people didn't go to the psychiatric. Mental illness was, just not something you talked about. You didn't talk about it. It was the alligator. And you didn't talk about it. You just, hopefully it would go away. With enough Father Johns and castor oil, the person would find their right mind. Or poop out some of the craziness. So I grew up believing that people who loved me treated me bad. People who loved me beat me. People who loved me dismissed, denounced, and denied me. And that the other people who knew they were doing that, since they loved me too, they didn't say anything about it. And that was a pathology that I grew up with. It was a broken piece. So when I become older and I in and out of relationships with men who were dishonest, men who dishonored me, men who beat me, because it was my pathology. And from that pathology grew a pattern of behavior that I had. Now here's the piece that's so exciting. This is good news, yeah? You can be successful and be crazy as hell. Ain't that good news? I mean, you don't have to wait till you get it fixed. You can be successful, rich, wealthy, and crazy as hell. Just like me. But I didn't know. We don't know. Because these are patterns that we've grown up with. These are pathologies that are etched into our being. When I found myself in relationship with a married man, I didn't know that my mother was the other woman. I didn't know. So these pathologies come to life whether you have conscious knowledge and awareness of them or not. I didn't realize until I was 30 years old that my father never came home at night. He just didn't. Where was he? I don't know. He woke my husband, so I couldn't ask. And I grew up in that children are seen and not heard experience, so I didn't ask where my father was, but I married men who didn't come home at night. And it was normal. It was the pathology that I developed into a pattern of behavior. Yeah. And I thought I was okay. But when you have a real serious, earnest effort and desire to have peace, oh, life will give it to you. But in order to get to the peace, you've got to go through the pathologies. So, y'all know I was very successful, right? I really was. And I'm really good at what I do. That has not changed. That's God's grace. You understand? And the good thing is that there was a place in me that when it came to me doing my work, whether it was a workshop or a lecture or writing a book or counseling or coaching somebody, that I could drop right out of craziness into God. Right out. Right out of craziness into God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. You know? And so that made the craziness a little harder to detect. And when I say crazy, I mean, for me, anything that's not peace is crazy. That's just my definition. You have to come up with your own. So I was very successful, and I outlived the pathologies that I had inherited. The pathology of poverty, I outlived that. The pathology of not being educated, I outlived that. The pathology of working hard and receiving very little, I outlived that. The pathology of servitude, I outlived that. The pathology of addiction. My mother was an alcoholic, my brother was cross-addicted to drugs, and I outlived that. The pathology of moving from day to day with no vision, I outlived that. So here I have outlived all of this stuff, and I'm out here on my own with no model, no example, no demonstration, no support. Making it up as I go. Alone in my head without adult supervision. But you have to make peace with your pieces. So the first thing for me was my television show. Let's just go on and talk about it. I used to watch it too, child. I had a very clear vision for what I wanted my television show to be. And I had a very divine opportunity to grow it and develop it by working with Miss Oprah Winfrey. But because I had broken pieces, because I thought I was in control, an opportunity presented itself in front of me. And I began to doubt myself. It's real simple. An opportunity presented itself in front of me. And it required me to do one or two things, say yes or say no. And I said maybe, because I doubted myself. I doubted myself. It's a poison, and it's a pathology, and it's a pattern that many of us, particularly women, get into. We get it right here, and then we fall into doubt because we get caught up in this, what we can see, what we can hear, what somebody else has done or did or told us. You get it right here, and it's so clear and so powerful and so strong. But if there's one iota of anything or anyone that doesn't agree with you, we'll start backpedaling. Because we like to be right as women, don't we? We like to be right. Yeah, it's like being wrong is almost a fatal disease or something. Like we'll die on the spot if we have to say I was wrong, you know? So if we look around and anybody challenges us, we'll give up what we believe. So here is one of the things that I learned on my journey to peace. I don't need your agreement. I'm asking for your support. I don't need your agreement. I'm not going to get people to agree with what you know and hear, because they don't know that. They ain't in there. Never judge your clarity based on somebody else's response. When you're clear, you're clear. Hold to your clarity. And if people look like they doubt you, close your eyes. So I doubted myself. And I went into agreement, arrangement, relationship, really is what it was, with people that had an agenda for me that I didn't know about. It's just that simple. Now, you've got to be real powerful to act your dysfunction out on television. You understand? Everybody else just be acting their dysfunction out in their house or in their projects or whatever. You understand? I got to go on national television to act out my dysfunction of not being able to take a stand for myself. Why? Because I came from a pathology where taking a stand for yourself was dangerous. You would get beat down, told to sit down, shut up, go. You getting it now? How the pathology starts to show up. So they didn't have my vision, they didn't support my vision, the people that produced the show. And still, I got to have my dream funded by Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse spent $10 million funding my vision. Isn't that great? Yeah, Buena Vista, that's Mickey Mouse. $10 million. I got a $10 million education in television production and how to stand for your vision. See, that's how you find peace from your broken pieces. I didn't have to be on television, but that lesson will last me for the rest of my life. When you have a vision, stand for it, stand in it, stand with it, even if it means you have to stand by yourself. Peace from broken pieces. So now here I come off national television, saving the world. See, people are just upset now because of this economic crisis and stuff. Well, I'm talking 2001. Right. Yeah? And one day I was employed as a talk show host for Buena Vista, and the next day I wasn't. Now, can I tell you something? When you lose your job as a talk show host, you can't collect unemployment. Okay? You can't collect unemployment. They know you can't go down to the unemployment office. And they say, what? I was a talk show host. You can't collect unemployment. So on Friday, I was a Buena Vista talk show host making $1.7 million a year. And on Monday, I was unemployed. I don't think you'll get the profundity of what I just said. On Friday, now listen closely now. Listen closely. On Friday, okay? On Friday, the day after Thursday, okay? 2 days after Wednesday, I was a talk show host for Buena Vista, ABC, the television network, the people that bring you The View. Making $1.7 million. It was broken down into payments. Okay? It was broken down into payments. I don't want y'all to think that they had just gave me the $1.7 million. I had to earn it out over time. You understand? But wait a minute. Let me just back up. Let me backpedal a little bit. 15 years earlier, I was on welfare, living in the projects. It's Friday. I'm making $1.7 million. Do you know the level of brain fry that occurs from welfare in the projects to $1.7 million? I mean, really. With no preparation whatsoever. Because like on Monday, I was doing okay. I wasn't struggling or nothing, but I wasn't making no $1.7 million. And then on Friday, I had the TV show making $1.7 million. Now it's Friday. I got the TV show. I'm making $1.7 million, right? It's Monday. I'm unemployed. Do you really understand the profundity of what I just said? So it kicked up all kinds of stuff. Now, I had been unemployed before. I know how to be unemployed. I know how to be poor. I know how to do that. I know how to make potato soup, lima beans with smoked turkey wings. I know how to take one box of Jiffy and make a whole pan of cornbread, and you butter it on both sides. It's like corn toast. I know how to do all of that. You understand? I was still driving a Honda. I didn't have no furs, no diamonds, no nothing. But I was unemployed from being on national television. This is a problem. So I just had to take my little self somewhere and sit down and figure it all out. And what I discovered was that woman who was on welfare never believed that I deserved to be on television anyway. And she was best friends with the voices of the family members who told me I would never be anything. And how dare I outlive them? How dare I live beyond that pathology? How dare I live beyond that pattern? I had to blow my life up. When you live beyond where you believe you need to be, should be, can be, eventually you'll blow it up. Now it looks like, oh, they just canceled the contract. It looks like something is shifting. It looks like there's an economic downturn. But the reality is there's something in you, in us. When you live beyond where you think you should be, you're gonna blow your life up. So I blew my life up. A blown up life is a good thing because you get to sift through the pieces. Because you know, some of us build this wonderful life up on broken, fragmented pieces, but we put a nice coat of paint on it, hang some pretty curtains, spray it, burn some incense, and paint a peace sign on it, and have everybody convinced it's okay. But if you walk up in there and you spend any time inside that structure, that life, that relationship, that job, you say, wait a minute, this is not what it appears to be. How many of us are walking around one way and we are not who we appear to be? But what I learned was that it wasn't conscious. It wasn't conscious. I wasn't trying to be a fraud. I wasn't trying to be somebody that I wasn't, but I was living out a pathology that I had inherited that I didn't even know about. I didn't even know about. Because I moved from experience to experience, situation to situation, relationship to relationship, man to man, job to job, whatever to whatever, without taking a breath, without looking back and saying, whew, now what was that? That was special. Woohoo! Until, you know, God loves us, and life is just so wonderful that life will bring you what you need, even though you don't know you need it. And you know, when it comes and you don't think you need it, it'll start whipping up on you, and you're like, why am I going through this? You need it, baby. I don't need this. Yes, you do. Sit right down. You need it. You're going to go through this, and you're going to come out better on the other side. No, I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Well, just go on and die then. You go on and die and be resurrected. Go on. Life will always bring us what we need. And what it brought me was the end of a 37-year relationship. In and out, in and out, in and out, 37 years. Married it twice. You know, I was in special ed. I didn't get the lesson. You know, and here I come to graduation. My shoes is on the wrong feet. Shirt button upside down. I'm coming to graduation. you know, in special ed. But what I've learned is that when life removes something from you, it's not helpful to go chase it down and get it back. It's just not helpful. And it could be kind of dangerous too, you know, to go chase it down and get it back. Yeah, you know. And even if you don't chase it down, sometime it'll just show up again, you know? And we're thinking, oh, it must be mine, it came back. Oh, yes, it's for me, it came back. This is what I've learned. I want to spray it first. Let me see how you stand up under this. Let me spray this thing and get the germs off it. So that's what I did. It went away and it came back. And I didn't spray it. Just took it in, dusted it off, called it something that it wasn't, you know. It's a funny thing about really wanting something, whether that thing is a dream or an experience or a person, really, really wanting it, and how you make up stories about what it would be like to have it. And those stories can become so pathological in your own thinking until when the thing shows up, you think it's what you thought it was, and you can't even see what it is. You gotta have some spray. You gotta have some show me your true color spray. Just spray it and see what happens. If it starts to shrink down, just run, scream and run. Or sweep it off your doorstep, you know. But it's really about just being clear about who you are and what matters to you and what you really want. And sometimes when we tell ourselves that we really want something and we really have to have something, even when that thing is hurting us or dishonoring us, we've convinced ourselves in this pathology that has created the disease in the first place, leads us into patterns of behavior that we will continue to hold on to this thing that's burning us, stinging us, dishonoring us, whatever it is. Oh, you get clear. So anything that we think we have to have, that we think we have to do, the universe is saying to us, that think again, baby, think again. I got something else for you. You just got to be able to make it on the broken pieces until I take you to where you need to be. Hold on, you can make it on the broken pieces if you stop telling yourself stories that really aren't true about who you are and what it is that you need. Just hold on to this broken pieces that I've provided for you and stop being a terrorist. All right. You know, I go through the airport and they be looking up in my underwear. They ain't gonna find no terrorists in there. But if they could peek into my mind for 1 minute, they would see Al-Qaeda t-shirts on sale. Oh my God, can I terrorize myself? Oh my God, in my own head, I don't have to open my mouth. I just be sitting there looking pretty. And the terrorist attack is going on. Girl, look at him. Look how they're looking at you. What you gonna do? You know, well, wait a minute. You know you got that thing you gotta do. You gotta go there. Because that's the pathology. That's what we learn. Don't show your feelings. Don't talk about how you feel. Don't tell what's going on. Don't ask for help. Don't let nobody know. Blah, 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 blah. Crazy. So I've got all of this going on in my mind because I've lost my job and my relationship is falling apart. And whatever stories I had made up about that, forgetting to hold on to the broken pieces. Well, you know, if you insist on acting cute, instead of going somewhere and sit yourself down and have a good prayer and a cup of tea. Life will just keep on coming. Okay, I got something for you, okay? Because you obviously ain't getting this. You need to sit down. I got something for you. So, September 11th, everybody knows that day because it was a big terrorist day in the world, which is really just a function of half the terror that goes on in our minds on any given day, you know. It diagnosed my daughter as having this very rare form of colon cancer. I knew then. I knew. But I just couldn't. I just couldn't know that. I just couldn't know it. I just couldn't know it. I couldn't know it. And I didn't want to know it. Because beyond Oprah and the books and the contract and the television and the fancy clothes and the shoes, in my heart, I'm just a mommy. Amen. All right. I'm just a mommy. And so she was my best friend. Really. She's the reason I look nice, because she taught me how to dress. Not to mix my metals. And that I should never go shopping for a hookup. Only an outfit. Don't go buy no hookup, she used to say. So, for 15 months, I watched her fight for her life. And when you've been on Oprah and you've had your own television show and you've traveled to every country in the world, and when you have 8.6 million books in print, and when people recognize you in Walmart and Target and Sam's Club, and when you get letters from people telling them how you saved their life and how you've helped them, and when you've talked to people on the phone and they've told you how you've helped them, and when you've really given your life to God and asked God to use you as a vessel to help people all over the world, regardless of who they are and where they come from and what they do, and when you have some modicum of success in that area and you watch your child fight for your life, you just can't feel good about yourself. You just can't. Because I would have sold all of y'all down the river for a nickel to save my child. And that's a bad thought to have as a priestess and a minister, you know. It's really not helpful to sell your fans away like that. I really don't care. I don't care. I would take back every word I ever wrote, every soul I ever saved, every person that I ever helped, every TV show, every gown I've ever worn, everything I've ever, just to save my child. And so I had to affirm life with her because I was her mommy. And I had to affirm life for her, despite what I knew. And I had to live in a place of dishonesty because I was her mom. And there was no way I could tell her what I knew that I didn't want to know. And so I stood with her for 15 months. And whatever she wanted to do, we did. And there were days when she was very, very mad at me, and days when she didn't like me much, and days when she was so clear about who she was and who I was and who she wasn't and who I wasn't, and she would speak it, and it was very, very hard for me to hear sometimes because I just wanted to save her life, and it was a fight she had to fight for herself. And so 10/18 Christmas morning 2003, she took her last breath in a house that she owned, in a bed that she bought, surrounded by people who loved her. And I realized in that moment that it was an answer to a prayer, because her prayer throughout it all was that she wanted to be closer to God. And whatever it was required for her to be closer to God, she was willing to do that. And when I heard her take that last breath, it's a breath that I've heard before, and it's, where it's just, I heard it when the 15-year-old got shot at my feet on 54th Street in Philadelphia because they stole his sneakers and shot him, and he fell at my feet, and I bowed down and I prayed with him, and I heard, and I heard it in the hospital when one of my students who was didn't make it through a very bad bout of leukemia, and I bent down to pray in her ear, and when she finished, I said, I finished. I heard her. And then on that Christmas morning, my Jamea, my precious jewel, my baby that I brought into the world said, It don't matter that you've been on Oprah in that moment. It don't matter that people love you all over the world in that moment. It doesn't matter that your husband left you for somebody that you know in that moment. If you are a mom or a dad or a grandma, it doesn't matter what you think you know in that moment. In that moment, you see, you know, you feel, you experience the presence of God. In that moment, there was so much peace. And there was so much peace. There were 21 of us in the room, my entire staff, my husband, my best friend, and there was peace. Because she lived her life in peace. Because she lived her life in love. Hers was a gentle passing. Because even though I didn't know it at the time, I had broken many and passed on some of the pathologies of our family. So I pursued that peace. I buried my child. I was divorced by my husband. I lost my mind. I lost my mind. Thank God, because it wasn't working that well. It really wasn't. I lost my mind. I got into bed on January 4th after we buried her, and I stayed there until June. And in there, while I was in the bed, I read her diaries, her journals. I learned so much about her that I didn't know. I learned so much about me that I didn't know she knew. I learned so much about love and power. And I learned the importance of peace.
So when I got out of the bed in June, I went to film Starting Over. Because I was starting over. And I saw every single of my family pathologies played out in those women. And I had an opportunity to be present with them in a different way. See, that's the thing. When you get the lesson, the opportunity again, do it different. Don't do the same stupidness. It's not helpful. Really, it isn't. So I had an opportunity with those women. Did any of you ever see Starting Over? Yeah, Kim and Jill and Jody and yeah, every single one of my pathologies. And I knew my time at Starting Over was over when I saw Rachel. Remember Rachel? Rachel was the one whose mother died. And she came to the Starting Over house and she didn't know her father. And I was very, very clear as soon as I heard the story, this is my granddaughter. This is my granddaughter. Her mother has died and she's not in good relationship with her father. This is my granddaughter and I have to know what to do with this. So in serving Rachel, I was real clear that I was serving my Nirmoja. And once Rachel left, I knew my lesson was over and I could go. I could go back home because I needed to raise my granddaughter. And I needed to be sure that the pathology was not passed on to her. I needed to be sure that I was for her who nobody was for me. I had to be sure that the pattern, you see, my mother died and my mother's mother died. And now I had an opportunity to have a girl child whose mother had died and to be for her who nobody else had been in my line. That was my mission. And it didn't matter if I wrote another book or didn't, or did another TV show or didn't, or it didn't matter. None of that mattered. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that my husband was gone. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. So I had an opportunity with those women. Did any of you ever see Starting Over? Yeah, Kim and Jill and Jody and yeah, every single one of my pathologies. And I knew my time at Starting Over was over when I saw Rachel. Remember Rachel? Rachel was the one whose mother died. And she came to the Starting Over house and she didn't know her father. And I was very, very clear as soon as I heard the story, this is my granddaughter. This is my granddaughter. Her mother has died and she's not in good relationship with her father. This is my granddaughter and I have to know what to do with this. So in serving Rachel, I was real clear that I was serving my Nirmoja. And once Rachel left, I knew my lesson was over and I could go. I could go back home because I needed to raise my granddaughter. And I needed to be sure that the pathology was not passed on to her. I needed to be sure that I was for her who nobody was for me. I had to be sure that the pattern, you see, my mother died and my mother's mother died. And now I had an opportunity to have a girl child whose mother had died and to be for her who nobody else had been in my line. That was my mission. And it didn't matter if I wrote another book or didn't, or did another TV show or didn't, or it didn't matter. None of that mattered. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that my husband was gone. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. So I did Starting Over and I got what I needed and I came home and I pursued getting custody of my granddaughter. And one day I was in prayer and meditation and I had this incredible vision. See, this is why you'll have to buy the book so that you can get all of the pieces of it. And I had this incredible vision and I saw this beautiful woman and I don't know, yes, I see visions and I hear voices. And I ain't ashamed. Okay? And you be reading about it too. Who read The Value in the Valley? Visions and Voices. I put them right there in the book. This ain't nothing new. So I had this vision of this woman and she said to me, she said, thank her thank her. She took away 17 generations of women who were abused by men. Thank her. Thank her that she walked the path and the journey so that you didn't have to do it, because you have work to do. It was an agreement between your soul and her soul that this is what she would do, that she would clean the way and pave the way for her daughter and her daughter's daughter, 17 generations of women. And then she began with my mother, Sarah, and Elizabeth, and Naomi, and Ruth, and Iyanla, and Mabuti, and Lady, and Hokana, and Jamasi, and Toda, and Ayana, and Ayosi, and Karima, and Kumati, and Joe, and Yanni. That my daughter gave her life to clear 17 generations of women. See, that's weird. Even for me. Okay. But when I started to look, and I immediately ran to Ancestry.com and started looking up my family lineage, because my mother's name was Sarah, and her mother's name was Elizabeth, and her mother's name was Naomi, and I didn't know any further back than that. So I'm assuming with all the 6 billion people in the planet, what is the likelihood that I would be the one meditating? And the spirit would just pass by on the way to McDonald's and lay out my family lineage for me. Why would I choose to disbelieve it rather than to believe it? But the other part of it is, it brought me peace to know that my daughter didn't die because I was a bad mother. And she didn't die because bad things happen to good people. It brought me peace to know that there really is a spiritual rhyme and reason, even when I can't see it and when I don't understand it, that it is going on. It brought me peace to know that it was her choice to choose me as a mother to come through my body into this family, and to choose to break the cycle of dysfunction. Deep. That go in the deep box. So I came back from starting over to a mess, because my daughter was diagnosed in 2002 and I was crazy, and she passed in the end of 2003 and I was crazy, and I told you all I was asleep from January to June. We now into 2004, and then I went to do starting over, and I came back, and I stayed there till 2006, and then I came back, and I realized, oh, joy or rapture, I forgot to file taxes. Let me just fill them out and take them down there and see what they say. Here, Mr. IRS person. I was crazy. I was crazy. I was suffering. And here they are. Here, would you like these? Yes. Okay. Bye. See ya. And what had really happened was I had bought a building, and I hadn't renovated the building because everything kind of erupted. I had bought a building, and I owed the IRS the exact amount of money that I paid for my building. So I didn't have the money to pay them, and they put me on a payment plan, and, you know, hey, listen, I owe the IRS taxes. And not because I just didn't pay my taxes, but because I was crazy. But to them, I just didn't pay my taxes, you know? And so I tried to work things out with them, but they can really be nasty. I don't think I like them. And I'm real clear they don't like me, you know? And I had a really good lawyer and everything, and so they said, well, you know, we'll work out something with you, but you know, you've got to pay us. And my accountant figured out how I could discharge some of the back taxes because they were old. I could discharge them, and we did that, and that really made them quite disturbed. They were very upset with me. And so, and then they said, oh, well, you know, we won't negotiate with you as long as you have that house. What? What do you mean? My house? I'm the first property owner in my family. I broke a pathology. I came out of an apartment. I own a house. And it wasn't an ostentatious house. It was really a cute little house. It was really nice. It was very nice. And what I did was paid a little bit of money for it and put a lot of money in it. So it was the bomb diggity. You know, I had everything just like I wanted. Ladies, can you imagine having your dream kitchen? I had my dream kitchen. Yeah, I had my dream floor. I had my dream curtains. And they wanted it. How many bombs would it take to get rid of that? No. Ooh! That's not spiritual, Iyanla. And I also had, they didn't get it because I actually had one of those crazy mortgages where I had this balloon payment that was due and nobody would refinance the mortgage that I needed to. So bottom line, I ended up losing my house. Well, actually I didn't lose my house. God took the house back to make room for something else. You know? So here we go now. I'm off. Lost the TV contract, the husband, the kid, now the house. Only thing I hadn't lost was that extra 15 pounds on my butt. That wasn't going nowhere. What are you doing back? Go! Loose me! You know, broken pieces. Broken pieces. Each one of them has a meaning. Each one of them is calling us to a higher way of being. Broken pieces of our relationships. I kept marrying my father. It was a broken piece. Broken pieces of our self-image. I was raised from here to there. I never really understood and knew what it meant to be a woman and what a woman's role was and what her job was. I didn't know what it meant to mother or be mothered, and I had taught myself and I had learned, and I really didn't learn until I read my daughter's diary, her journals, and she really shared with me her experience of my mothering. It was a broken piece. Broken pieces of how we pull things together and hold on to things that we think we need. I didn't need that house. I'm so glad I got rid of that house. They took it, thank you, because a year later the market crashed. I probably would have ended up losing it anyway. It was a broken piece. It was built, it was fruit of a poisonous tree. It wasn't that I loved it or needed it or wanted it. It gave me a sense of value and meaning that really had nothing to do with who I was. It was a broken piece. So here I sit today. I'll let you read the other details. At peace. Just at peace. And able to stand in the story. That's how you know you're at peace. When you can stand fully in your story, without any excuses, without any judgment, without any heat. Stand fully in your story. This is what it is. This is who I am. This is what I did. This is what happened. And ta-da. Ta-da! And you know, it's not about telling the story, you know, for shock value or for news. It's about telling it so that you can see what part of it still resonates upset in your being. And that's the part you have to go in, and that's the part you have to heal. When I discovered that my love of 40 years was marrying or in relationship with somebody that I knew. When her husband was dying, I prayed for her. I sat with her. And this was the woman that he was with. But then it didn't matter. It didn't matter whether he was with her or you. He wasn't with me. So what was the point? And so I'm driving along, I'm driving home one day, I'm driving home out to my empty house that I was getting ready to lose, and I'm driving home. I mean, can you imagine? Job gone, man gone. I mean, it was very interesting. And still people would call and say, we want you to come speak. Me? I can't even find my lips, okay? So I'm driving along home, I'm driving along home, and I knew the one thing that I had to do about it all. I knew the TV show and Buena Vista and Bar Wall Productions and Oprah and my husband and everybody, and I knew the one thing that I had to do was to forgive. That's your ticket to peace. That's your key to peace. I don't care what you do. You can skate around, you can dance around all you want, but eventually you're gonna come right back to forgiveness. Yeah. You got to do it. And so, you know, I like things to move quick. I'm a Virgo. I'm a Mercury person. I like, okay, all right, damn it, let's get it over with. Forgive you. I forgive you. I forgive you. Oh, forgive it. Let's come on, let's work it out. Let's just forgive. Oh, yeah. That wasn't working. Wasn't working. Because, you know, the truth is I didn't really want to forgive. I wanted revenge. Payback. Or at the very least, my house. You know? I knew I couldn't have my daughter back, and I was, you know, my pride wouldn't let me want him back, but could I at least have the house? Job, a little contract somewhere. Oh my God. So I had to forgive. So I'm driving along home, and I'm driving along in my car, and just not particularly thinking about anything and not forgiving anybody on this particular day, you know. You know, just being kind of blank in mind, dead in face. And I just began to weep. I'm weeping. And you know, God loves me and God knows that I have challenges. So God says, the Holy Spirit said to me, boo, pull over. Really, it's not helpful for you to run into a tree or another. Pull a car over, baby. Just pull a car over. So I pull a car over. I'm sitting on the. Why am I crying? I'm crying because I'm happy. Oh, this don't feel happy. And then I was like, wow, yeah, I do. I'm just at peace. I'm just at peace. I've got joy, yeah. And I heard the Spirit say, yes, and you're in love. I said, I am? Ooh. I'm in love. With who? With her. Her. Did I switch sides? Who is she? And then I realized, yeah, I did love her. Because she made him happy. When you really, really love somebody, you want them happy, whether they're with you or not. And she made him happy when I didn't. She made him happy when it wasn't important to me for him to be happy. I was so busy trying to heal and fix my own self. I loved her because she put a smile on his face. Because I was flying around trying to heal y'all, leaving my husband at home by himself, and it made him miserable. And she put a smile on his face. I loved her for that. I loved her because she gave him a place to be when I wasn't home. What they did there is not my business. But I loved him. And so I had to love her. And because I had forgiven, my heart was just open. And in that moment, I was just in love. And I loved me because I never gave up on myself. And I loved me because I could look at me, my good, my bad, my mistakes. I loved me because I wasn't afraid to say, Iyanla, you need to work on that. I loved me because there were people in my life who loved me, who knew that I had rough edges. People like Jamia, my daughter, people like my prayer partners, like Reverend Andriette and Shahira and Raina Bundy, people like Blanche Richardson. Blanche Richardson wrote me a note on October 23rd, 2006. And the title of that note was, You Are Iyanla. I still have that note. I loved me and I loved her. So there on the side of the road, I learned the power of forgiveness. And it was there, that day, sometime in 2007, that I knew I had to write this book. And I had to stand transparent before the world. That somebody has to be a demonstration to us that who you are, just as you are, and no matter where you are, is okay. And that you can take those pieces of where you are right now and have peace with them. Somebody, and if it has to be me, oh well, oh joy, oh rapture, has to be a demonstration that we're not put here to suffer. And that so many of these things that we demand and that we require, we don't need at all. That this is a journey, that this is a process, that this beautiful thing that we call life, that we make it far more difficult than it has to be. I gave up that beautiful, great big house that I had put hundreds of thousands of dollars in, you know, and now I live on 30 acres of land, and I have a raccoon who lays out on my front lawn, and squirrels and deer and fox and a sweat lodge. And I've seen all the Law and Order reruns. And I love Project Runway. And I've scrapbooked now. I scrapbook. I make scrapbooks, and I don't sell them because we have a tendency that everything we're good at, we turn it into a money-making venture. I make scrapbooks because I love it, and I'm really, really good at it. And I make soap. My father was a herbalist. My grandmother was an herbalist, and I learned about herbs when I was very young. And it's something I've never put to use. And so now I cultivate herbs, I buy herbs, I bake them, I cook them, I mash them with my own hands as I pray over them. And I pray over the water. And Jamia was an aromatherapist, and she left me all the formulas for her products. And so I make soap. everybody wants me to sell it all over the world, you know? But you know what? I bring it with me wherever I am. And if you want to buy some, you can, and if you don't, oh well. Because the love and the joy I put in there, I can't mass market it. Amen. And I won't. And I'm at peace. And I still look good, and I'm at peace. You got a right to have peace in your life. A right. And it means that you've got to look at all of the good that you are, the good that you have, the good that you've done, and celebrate it. And don't wait for anybody else to tell you that it was enough or that it wasn't enough. It's celebrate. Celebrate you and what you've learned and what you know and who you are and what you have and what you don't have and what you gave up and what you lost. You've got a right to have peace. You got a reason. You got a reason to have peace. Because stress makes you ugly. I mean, I could give you something a little more profound if you choose. But I ain't never heard nobody running any place to get ugly. You have a reason to be at peace. Just to stay looking good and feeling good. You know? Do some Zumba. Yeah, come out and be at peace. And you have a responsibility. A responsibility to be a demonstration for peace in the world. Look at our world. Look at our children. Look at our sister women. Look at our men. Where's the peace? Where's the peace? And it's not something we can wish for. It's not something that we can just speak about. You know, you've got to know the process. There's a process to it. And so my reason now for doing what I do in the world is to teach people the process of peace. I want to share that. And I don't care if I'm on television. I don't care if I'm on the radio. I don't care if 10 people show up or 2 people show up. I want to teach people the process of peace. So I'm going to be doing that Monday for the Heart and Soul Center of Light, Reverend Andreette's church, sharing with you some of the little things that I've learned about eliminating your pathologies or identifying them and moving to a place of peace. So I hope some of you will come out and join me on Monday. Where are we going to be? Somewhere.
At the Hilton Garden Inn in Emeryville.
The Hilton Garden Inn in Emeryville. At what time?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. But there's something else that I want you to do for me. In the middle of all of the wonderful experience that I was having, the other thing that happened when I lost the television show, I lost my contract with Simon & Schuster. Simon & Schuster had been my publisher for 20 years. Wow. Yeah. But things are changing, you know, things are changing. And they no longer needed an author of my caliber because the genres had changed and people were buying books differently, just as they are now. You know, pretty soon we're not going to have hard books anymore, you know. It's going to be the Kindle and the iPad, which, you know, I guess we want because we're buying them and we're doing that. And so I'm with a new publisher now, Smiley Books, a division of Hay House, and which is headed by my very dear friend, Tavis Smiley. And so Tavis gave me a contract when the big people didn't want me. That's really good. But I'm also real clear that contracts are also a form of slavery. I don't care what kind of contract it is. If I can't look you in your face and we can't make a deal and we can't move forward just on our word, then we don't need to be doing business. So, Peace from Broken Pieces will be out on November 15th. And the cover price of the book is $24.99. But Amazon is selling it for $16.47. Can you imagine what that does to a place like Marcus Books? I just have to tell you the truth. You know, we've become so technologically, savvy, but we forget what we give up in the process. So I want to ask you a favor. I want you to buy your book from Marcus. And for that difference, from the $16.47 to the $24.99, I will give you a signed book plate. I will sign it for you. I mean, most of you probably have my autograph anyway, but whatever, I don't know. What do you want me to do? You want me to do a lap dance? What do you want me to do? Tell me. What do you want me to do? What? I just want you to go out there and pre-purchase your copy of Peace from Broken Pieces. I'll sign the books that you have. I'll do that. Huh? And a lap dance? Yeah, hey, I'm down with the lap dance. I took a pole dancing class. What? Girl, you better take one. I know how to do it. Oh, wait, it's the skirt, it's the skirt. It's fun. Hey, life is fun, right? You know what? They're going to throw the same dirt in my face if I live here and having no fun as they is whenever I have some fun. There's no special dirt for, oh, they lived a good life. They lived a good life people. Give them some special dirt. No. I have a good heart. I have a phenomenal relationship with God. I have people that love me, people I love. So I'm going to get the same dirt. Okay? So I want you to buy your book from Marcus. I want us to understand what's going on here in the world. And I'm all for sale. You understand? But even as the author of the book, I pay $15 for the book. Amazon charges me $15. And so that's my request to you. What else do I want you to know? It's been a hell of a ride, and I think I'm just starting to have fun. I want you to have some fun too. Don't be afraid to look at your patterns and your pathologies, no matter how old you are, because we've got to make way for the next generation. Some of the stuff that we suffer through, suffer with, suffer in, we need to eliminate it. You can be the one to heal it. You can be the one to lift it up. You can be the one to clear it. You understand? You can be the one. And it doesn't require anything of you that you don't already have. What else do I want you to know? I want you to know that I love you. I love you, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Peace from Broken Pieces. Available everywhere from Smiley Books.